is no longer really an opportunity or choice, it's an imperative. To telling the story, how do we make sure that we're taking full advantage of any and all assets that are on the grid and at customer premises.
Welcome everyone to the EI360 podcast. My name is Sandy Coughlin, and joining me today is CEO David Swink and our Chief Technology Officer Joe Voelz. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here. And we also welcome the month of December. So in November, we discussed the topic of data, and data is changing the way organizations operate, the way we predict and plan, and it's also changing this podcast because we're going to extend that conversation throughout the month of December. And I'm so excited for Joe to join us. He always brings valuable insight. And David, I know that you agree with me, and I am excited to just have a center seat here for this conversation.
Well, it's good to actually have Joe on the podcast, and Joe and I met back in probably 2014, 2015, when Joe was actually working for Pitney Bowes. There's a lot to that story, so I'm not going to tell all the parts of that story, Joe. But one thing that became very clear in 2016, when Joe began to introduce me to what's called the graph technology, it really kind of changed, really not just my perspective of data, but really began to change the what we now call enx architecture and overall journey. There's a lot to that, to say the least, and so we'll probably be asking Joe to come back numerous times to talk about this. But Joe, I really do appreciate what you bring to an exchange, just the depth of knowledge about the graph technology. Again, for those that perhaps are not familiar with that technology, Joe's going to share with us a little bit today about how important that is to not just enx, but really to this entire energy environment where we're now starting to talk about virtual power plants, microgrids, the energy cloud, if you will. We're very excited about in the next several weeks, we're going to be making a press release about our platform, what we call the enx ei360 platform 4.0. And so I won't say any more, since that way it won't be a release. We'll be releasing it today, but just to really begin to kind of get out there what we have been building for really the last decade or couple of decades for that matter. And so Joe, with that said, we really want to spend some time listening to you versus them hearing me. And so the first thing I just want to say to you is when we think about these things like virtual power plants and DERMS and microgrids, I mean, at the end of the day, there's got to be this underpinning architecture again that we call the graph technology. So just would like for you to kind of share your thoughts, your insights, how important that is. I mean, definitely it's been a big part of your background.
It has, thanks. I'm glad to be here. And before I jump into the technical architecture and some of the challenges that we've taken on for our clients, I'd like to set the stage in the podcast a little bit and have you share one of your experiences as CEO of a utility and the challenge you faced in relating the data. And that's going to go a long way for some of this graph conversation today.
Well, I'm sure my journey, much like probably a lot of executives out there, is you invest a lot of money in intelligent hardware, point solutions, shiny objects, with the anticipation that you're going to see some intelligence, that it's going to increase your productivity, it's going to decrease your bottom line and increase your top of the line. And one of the things that Joe, when we met, I was highly frustrated by the fact that we had spent a lot of money on smart grid and putting in smart devices. We had spent a lot of money putting in basically a master data management system, where a data lake. We're feeling good. We're thinking, what? We've got intelligence in the field. We got these servers that have got all this data, and so now it's just going to magically appear. And the reality was, we began to hit barrier after barrier after barrier. The barriers that you and I have talked about, the barrier of being able to access the data, the barrier to be able to relate the data, the barrier to be able to visualize the data. And so I could go on, but those are major pain points.
And that right there, as what David just described, is the challenges that our customers face every day. And we've taken on those challenges, and we've solved that challenge with our enx ei360 platform and the underlying technology. And when you look at graph technology specifically, you're talking about the start of defining data and, more importantly, the flexibility in relating that data. And once you've related that data, you can start asking the right questions. And the right questions is the challenge that our customers face, right? Because it's not a single question, it's many questions, right? I want to look at this piece of the grid, I want to look at this piece of intelligence, and every time they get an answer, there's more questions. Just like when we're using Google search, right? You typically go into Google or a search engine and we're asking it multiple questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Joe, one of the things that's exciting, I believe, if you really start right, then, ultimately start right with a foundation, you can actually end up with, the objectives and the goals that you're looking for. And, we've invested a lot of time and money, intellect and domain knowledge in building out this, I'm going to call it engine within our system to be able to afford future things. So a lot of discussions about machine learning, artificial intelligence, generative AI. As just kind of as we conclude today, you might just share, with the listeners just how important what we're doing as a company is going to be to the future of those types of phrases that we hear in the marketplace.
And you just said it. It's all about starting right. In the fact that if you want to get into that next generation AI, machine learning, you have to start right. And it all starts with data, and whether it be data from an asset out in the field that we want to capture with some of our IoT devices, whether it be different sources of data from applications that are running internally to an organization. It's all about starting right. And that's what our platform does. It brings that data in, it allows that energy intelligence, and then for many customers of ours, they want to now start talking about the next steps. AI, machine learning, generative. Thank you. AI, yeah, exactly. So it's all about starting right with that data. Yeah.
Well, we talk about data a lot here at NX, but for us, data and energy are synonymous. In a statement that we probably have said on this podcast before, that it was once said that data is the new gold, and no, it's fool's gold. Insights is the new gold, and we've said that here for probably the last few years. But now all of a sudden we're thinking to ourselves, no, it's not even insights. It's things like generative AI. It's things like machine learning. And when you think about that and just think about how fast that is moving, Chat GPT just, kind of came into the market here just recently, and all of a sudden we're seeing people talk about that in ways that we've never seen before. That's what's at stake today in every industry and every environment. And we hope that what you'll do is, realize that not only do we believe at NX we have a very special and unique technology that we're excited about, we got special and unique people like Joe Voelz.
Thank you.
And that understand these technologies and are able to help our clients accelerate their journey and really take advantage of monetizing data. And when we believe when we monetize data, we're going to monetize energy. Without monetizing data, we're not going to monetize energy. But any last thoughts, Joe, today that you'd like to share?
It all starts with data, and the challenges that you have, we've tackled those challenges.
Well, I'm going to turn it back to you, but one thing I'm going to say before, Sandy, you get it back is, I agree with Joe except for one thing. It starts with people that know how to do data, and Joe does. So we're glad to have you on our team, Joe.
I'm glad to be here today.
100%, and we welcome you back anytime. Thank you so much
Sounds
for joining
good.
us. We welcome your feedback too, and we hope that you subscribe, send us your comments, and ask us questions. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week.